on this episode of All Consuming Podcast.
And they were stretching before the show. Like, they were literally stretching, like, getting ready. And we knew right away, we were like, this is going to be insane.
Welcome to All Consuming Podcast. I'm Gary Erickson.
And I'm Tyler Hogue.
And we are super excited to be doing our first podcast. We've been waiting a long time and joked in the past about talking about our favorite things together. You know, we went to college together. We've been friends pretty much since we met. Everyone always told us, you guys like the same music. You should talk to each other, get to know each other. And we're like, no, and so not until we're forced to. But, we both met at a church group on campus and stuff. And, we've really got a friendship around hardcore music. And so here we are doing a podcast. So I thought we'd jump into some background before we, got a little deeper. I am a software engineer, went to Eastern Washington University. Pretty boring stuff. I listen to music literally all day at work. Married, 2 boys. Little boys, they are changing my life. I've never thought I would be this changed by little kids, but it's been tons and tons of fun.
I'm Tyler, and I'm a teacher. And I also went to Eastern Washington University, and that's where Gary and I met, which is where this whole thing came together. And for a long time, I've been into heavy music, and that's where Gary and I really had that connection. I'm also married. I have 2 kids also. I got a 4-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son. And just like Gary said, it's like crazy to see how kids change you. But it's metal thing wasn't the phase. Like, now we're teaching our kids to like metal and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. I absolutely.
Is it taught?
Is it taught?
Teach people to like metal?
I mean, I think you have to. I don't know. We all had our gateway type of metal, right? I mean, like, what was yours?
So that's hard to say. I grew up in a Pentecostal home. We grew up going to church, and I was not allowed to listen to secular music. But luckily, my dad was really into Christian metal. And so since I was a little kid, I've been listening to everything. I mean, Stave Zaker, Striper, Mortification, NSYNC, not NSYNC. That's bad. Newsboys, Skillet. So in my teenage years, I got to start like picking my own music. It was things like Cutlass, Toby Mac. It was more of like everything all the kids in youth group are listening to.
So it wasn't like the heavy music like we're talking about. You're talking about like rock or maybe hard rock.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my music was like what I thought was the heaviest stuff in the world. Like that first album of Cutlass, I was like, this is amazing. It's like Christian Creed, which,
Wait, Creed? Come on. I mean, okay, so then what band got you to like what we would say is metalcore that got you to the spot to where you're at now with music?
So it's probably Demon Hunter, and I heard them a few times. Once on a Cutlass song, he's like on the very end and he's just screaming in the background, and I was like, dude,
Ryan Clark's on a Cutlass song?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Really?
And then I also heard him on, I think, a Falling Up song called the Jackson 5. And there's a lot of Christian musicians on that song. And I remember, like, before internet was a thing, reading the CD, like being like, who are the featured vocalists on this? Like, what is going on? And so I talked to my dad about it, or rather, he might have just been like, here's the guy from that. And showed me the first 2 albums of Demon Hunter. And I'm not going to lie, the first time I heard them, I hated it. I could not stand the screaming, but I loved the music. Like, the music drew me in. And then the clean choruses, like where he actually sang, I was like, that's what the whole song should be. And it took some time, but I think eventually, hearing the screaming, I was just like, yeah, it just feels good. Like being that, helping with aggression, I think, But yeah, what about you, Tyler? What's the band that got you to metalcore?
Oh man, it goes back. It goes way back. I mean, I started like the rock. Like obviously, like my dad's like a AC/DC Van Halen guy, so I listened to that when I was a little kid. Um, but then as I moved forward, like I got into pop punk, Blink 182, and then into new metal with like System of a Down and Limp Bizkit. As I shrug away, so no one throws anything at me for saying that. But what really got me into like hardcore music was I was watching MTV2, I think it was, and they had Headbangers Ball on, and you can't see that now on MTV2. But I mean, it was
called YouTube nowadays.
YouTube, yeah. I think it was Under Oath's Writing on the Walls that really started getting me into that scene. Also around the same time as Lay Dying, The Darkest Nights. And so those two songs were like on Headbangers Ball a lot. I saw As Lay Dying at Warped Tour that summer when I started getting introduced to it, and that was pretty cool.
Wow, like you like jumped in head first, man.
I did.
That As Lay Dying album is like, I remember hearing that and thinking nobody likes this. It's so heavy.
But I was like a song guy. I don't know. I know you're like an album guy. Like you click you get an album and you listen to the whole thing through, right? Yep. I hear a song and I add it to my playlist, and that song I listened to 100 times, you know? And so I didn't listen to the whole album, which is, it's a great album. But I just listened to Darkest Nights. But then Killswitch Engage came out with
As Daylight Dies.
As Daylight Dies, that's right. Right around that same era.
It's like the best one.
And I absolutely loved it. And so that really, Killswitch Engage, like turned something in me to, that was my music choice from then on out. And then I went to, Under Oath, Devil Wears Prada, all that type of stuff, and it's pretty cool. So probably I'd say my gateway to metal would be Killswitch.
So what got you into would you say you're into the Christian metal scene? Like, are you more pulled towards the Christian musicians as opposed to, I mean, I don't hear anything that says, so like Killswitch Engage, sure, they had some Christian themes, and
yeah,
Really Dying, at the time claimed to be Christian, but none of them were like, on Tooth and Nail or Solid State, which are like Christian, quote unquote, record labels. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I mean, I wasn't a Christian at the time either.
So anything that came out, you're just like,
dude,
you just happen to like Christian metalcore.
And well, that's because at that time, Christian metalcore or whatever it was, it's hard to like label it Christian metalcore, but it kind of was. But that was metalcore. Yeah. Right? We're talking August Burns Red, Devil Wears Prada, all those bands, that was like the peak of metalcore. Right?
Yep. Yeah, I think a lot of it is because the theme of metalcore is like, has a lot to do about death and life, and it's very, it's just like a general theme of the music. You have like the heavy guitars, the anger, and then you have the clean highs and with the guitars, and then clean vocals, and it's like, it's a very contrast. I think it's a very good depiction, I guess, of a lot of what the Bible says about salvation and your sin and then becoming clean. And I think it's just a very easy theme for lyrics to match that theme. And so I think it was a very fitting genre.
Yeah. It was crazy though. I do remember like after I became a Christian and once I went to college and met you, right? It was like we were searching for these bands, like, oh, are they Christian? All this stuff. And it was kind of cool. It was a crazy time, but and now we don't necessarily think that way, but it was kind of weird to think like everybody in metalcore felt like was part of that Christian scene.
Yeah, like if you didn't call yourself Christian metalcore band, people weren't going to listen to you.
Right.
It's like the first thing that Google pops up. Right when you start typing the band's name is so-and-so, and it's like a Christian band. Like right away. You click on it. Takes you to Wikipedia that's updated like every 15 minutes. And
yeah. And so when we met at our campus ministry at Eastern, we met in a kind of a weird way, like you were saying, like, you should be friends with Gary, Tyler. And we're like, yeah, but we're it might be awkward, right? We don't want to just go say hi and say, "Oh, I like metal too. Hi." Right? Like that to me, that's not a conversation that I'm the guy to have. You know, I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
And so everyone was saying we should hang out. And finally, Gary took the plunge. What did you do?
So I've seen Tyler like at worship and like, you know, during the service and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's the guy everyone says I would get along with. And my roommates knew him. And so I knew what you looked like.
Sexy.
Oh yeah. I don't remember what I was doing, but I was driving along the edge of campus. I had all my windows down in my old Jeep, and I was playing Haste Today, hence our first discussion. And it was their first album, I think. It was like one that my brother torrented like a long time ago, and so it wasn't even like the legit album, and it was missing songs and bad quality. But I like pulled up and my windows rolled down, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to ride?" And I already knew where you lived. Because I knew you were married, and the married campus or dorms, whatever, were probably like 2 blocks away.
Yeah, I mean, I was close. I was close to home, anyways.
And so I was just like, "Hey, you want to ride?" And you're like, like you like looked over there and looked back. Sure. So yeah, you hopped in, and you're like, I think you already knew who they were, right?
Yeah, it was. Not? I did.
You're like, is this Haste Today?
That's what I said. Is this Haste Today? And you're like, yeah, that's Haste Today, dude. And it was literally maybe a minute of being in the car, but we both kind of from that point built a friendship. It started with Haste Today.
Yeah, I think your 1.5 minute drive to your house was like, do you know this band? Do you know this band? Do you know this band? And like we knew so much. And it's like this whole world that like I would maybe have 1 or 2 friends that knew this type of music that I listened to. Besides like my brother and close family that knew what I listened to and like, oh yeah, Gary listens to heavy stuff. But yeah, so it's way different, when you meet someone that's like, into the same genre and style of music as you, and it's like, you just click. It's just,
for sure.
Did we just become best friends?
And to this day, like I live in Kennewick, and Gary lives up in Spokane. So we're about 2 hours away from each other. But when we do see each other, like we're up to like 4 a.m. Our wives go to sleep and our kids are asleep. We're up to like 4 a.m. watching YouTube videos, and
have you heard this band? Did you hear this single drop? Did you hear this? Yeah.
I mean, 4 a.m. I kid you not. It's pretty cool. It's awesome. We can just get together and it's music, man. It feels right. And that's what it felt like when we first met in the Jeep, Gary's Jeep with Haste Today, man.
Yeah.
So when was the first time you actually heard Haste Today?
Let's see. I want to say my brother. So we grew up, we shared rooms our entire time. So we always were in bunk beds, always. So whenever we listened to music, we had to listen to the same music. Whenever we played games, we had to take turns. I don't remember how it came up, but he showed me, it had to be when, Not Pressure the Hinges, When Everything Falls.
Yeah.
And like he was listening to it kind of quietly. And I think I can't, this is so long ago. What year was that? 2005. So sophomore year of high school. And I don't know how he found it. Maybe my dad often went to the Christian bookstore and just bought a bunch of like Tooth and Nail and Solid State stuff. Like so many CDs in our house. And maybe my brother like got the latest stack or something and threw it in. But anyway, and I did not like it. I probably didn't even know that it was Haste Today at the time, but I do know now because after that, when Pressure the Hinges came out, like that's probably the first time I noticed Haste Today. And my brother was like, yeah, these are the same guys that did this album with the girl and the flowers on the front that looks like it should be a nice song. And it's like super heavy.
Yeah.
But that's when Stephen Keats joined the band. And so different screaming.
Yeah.
Not all just like super heavy and,
you gotta, there you go. You gotta give me your best impression of early Haste Today.
Of Jimmy. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And so when Stephen Keats joined, I felt like not only did the vocals get cleaner and more metal and less hardcore.
Yeah.
But the music did too. There's much more guitar and less chug, 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 you know. But our favorite song was Stitches on that album, my brother and I's. And we probably listened to that one song a lot.
Yeah.
Doing homework, playing video games. And I think listening to that made us like the whole album more, which made us like Older Haste the Day more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was the first time I did. And yeah, I'm 99% sure that my brother is the one that said, check out these guys.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So what about you?
Man, mine was like discovered them a little bit later and went back and just loved their old stuff the most. Like I think I heard
stuff and you're like,
yeah, I think actually the Dreamer album was the first time I actually heard them. And I liked it a lot. But then I went back and I like listened to Burning Bridges and I was like, are you kidding me? These breakdowns are filthy, or or whatever. I thought it was great. And I loved the screaming. I loved the vocals, just how like raspy and just how do it, Gary. Show me. Show me what they were like.
Can that make me do it on the night?
Oh yeah.
Should I do Substance?
Yeah. No, man, I loved it. And I right away drawn to American Love on Burning Bridges. That was an awesome song. I just loved how it went from just super hardcore, screamo lyrics to just great, awesome chorus, and the breakdown is just awesome. I started like later, but I ended up liking their older stuff first, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Burning Bridges, their first album.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to like them. Like,
why?
So I enjoyed the music. I loved the breakdown. I loved it. But, Jimmy's vocals, that screaming, I always thought like, how painful is that?
Yeah.
Like he can't keep doing this. And, I don't know. Sure. It's weird. Like looking back, there's times where I like, don't like something. Then the same band releases something else and it like, I don't know, softens my hard shell. And then I'm like, go back and I like that again. But yeah, I just think Jimmy's vocals are just so, they're always so fast and he's just so high pitched. And so my biggest thing is that, I'm interested when I first hear a song, I listen for the music. And if the music catches me, I'll usually listen to it more. And then if the lyrics catch me, I listen to it a lot. And some bands, like their music is awesome. And then I listen to the lyrics and I think they're garbage or they mean nothing or they have nothing, even if it's catchy, but if the lyrics are just missing something, I have a hard time going back and listening to it. And I know some people are like drum people and some are guitar people and they're like, there's not enough, guitar solos. It's too chuggy. They're not picking the guitar. But yeah, that's kind of how I find music. And so listening to their stuff, the music caught me, the screaming did not. And for years I could not understand Jimmy. Like, even to this day, there's certain parts of songs where I'm like, I don't know what he's saying. And I have to like go look at the lyrics. I'm like, I hear it now, and like, you kind of have to, I think the first few bands like Demon Hunter was one of them where like, you kind of learn how they say words when they're screaming. And then when new songs come out, you just like, how it sounds, what they're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jimmy, even to this day is still, I think most metalcore I understand. August Burns Red, when my wife's like, how do you even know what he's saying? I'm like, how do you not? Like that's clear to me. It's like another language.
Exactly. And I think with Burning Bridges, what I love the most about it is it's raw, right? I mean, it's raw. Like you listen to it and it's raw, but man, there's so much in there that like you chant, like in Blue 42, I won't look back to the chains that bound me. Like, and you're at a concert or whatever, and the whole crowd's just chanting that. Like, that's pretty cool. And I feel like that's Burning Bridges right there. They have a bunch of that kind of just raw emotion, and you can hear it and you can feel it.
Yep.
And I love it. I love that about that first album.
I wonder if. So I listened to the Labeled podcast,
Oh
and
yeah,
I really hope that they do a Haste the Day episode. And I don't know how they're gonna do it because there's like two entirely different bands from beginning to end. I think there's one guy that's been there from the whole way through, but their sound has changed and their guys have changed. And
yeah, Burning Bridges is awesome, and it's still my go-to. Like I still rock that when I go to the gym or whatever, just because it's like, man, just gets you pumped up. But then when everything falls, like you listen to it, and it's different than Burning Bridges, but it's still kind of the same. That's my favorite album by far. Like I would say that album, When Everything Falls, is my favorite Haste the Day album, start to finish.
They just put that album up on vinyl.
Yeah.
And I found out a little late, and I was like, I have to buy that so I can put it on my wall. And it sold out.
Yeah.
Missed out.
It's great.
Yeah,
I
think it's a much better, just recording quality. It's like Burning Bridges 2.0.
Yeah, it is. And, When Everything Falls, the song is just stellar. Like that chorus, I will always know for the rest of my life. And I'm always just somewhere, not even thinking about it, not even listening to music. And I'm just like, I will stand when everything falls. Like that just comes to my head all the time. And I love it. I don't know. Yeah. No one wants to hear me sing, but I just did.
That song, Tyler?
Right. I just love it, And so that album, I don't know if it's just like something that's in my heart that I just ended up loving so much during that time in college. But man, it speaks to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that song. I had it as a ringtone, the very beginning, and it stops right after he coughs up his potatoes. And it's like, that was the end of my ringtone. But I would often get it to like right up to there, so I could be like, hello. I'm like, please, someone call me.
Coughing up his potatoes.
So one song that I loved from when my brother showed it to me, when I hated everything about it, was Long Way Down, which hardly has any screaming.
That's a cover.
It's a cover of
Goo Goo Dolls. Yeah.
It's an amazing cover. And I didn't know that it was a cover because, Christian kid, not allowed to listen to radio. Sneak it, to my friend's house to hear songs. But even my friends that heard it, they're like, man, they should just do the entire album like Long Way Down. And it would be a huge hit. And I was like, yeah, you're right. That would be amazing. Looking back, I'm like, you fool.
You fool. It's great. You look on Spotify, though. What's their top song? The most popular?
Is it their top song?
I believe so. Most popular, Long Way Down.
I look it up.
Got to. Okay, funny story on this.
Right,
so my buddy, who he listens to rock, but he's mostly listens to rap. He had a playlist, and we were driving to Seattle for a coach's clinic. I coach football. And in his playlist, on comes Haste the Day, Long Way Down. And I was like, oh, you like Haste the Day? And he's like, dude, I love this song. It's so great. But he didn't know it was a cover. I told him, oh, yeah, dude, this is originally a Goo Goo Dolls song. He's like, oh, this is way better. Haste the Day does some great covers. Right? Well, okay. But I'm saying, they're awesome. They're better than the original.
Like when you listen to the original Goo Goo Dolls song, you're like, man, there's no energy. Like you feel like they don't want to do this.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't know. It feels weird. But yeah, Long Way Down was amazing. For sure.
Yeah. Still, it's a jam. And it is different than the rest of the album. But it's good. So good.
When we saw them in concert, did they play that song?
No.
I don't think they did, because that'd be like something I would have been down for. I wonder if they weren't allowed to.
Yeah,
because it's not fair.
A lot of bands do covers. They were able to put on their album.
Well, a lot of big bands have a lot of money behind them, so they can just do the cover. Plus, a lot of these are recorded for their final tour.
And when we saw Haste the Day, it was, like you said, kind of a different lineup. Even though they did songs, obviously old songs, but yeah.
Yeah, I thought Stephen Keach did great doing the old Jimmy Ryan songs and his songs.
Oh yeah, he did. He's awesome. And Haste the Day versus Haste the Day, awesome too. Like that is worth a listen.
So since we're talking about Stephen Keach, we should talk about his first album, Pressure the Hinges.
Yes. Great album.
I think we're about to say the same thing. When it
Okay.
came out, I loved it. But when I go back to it today, I'm just like, I wished I liked it more. And if you look on Spotify, like probably half the songs are from that album. And, on their top songs, I mean. I love it. It's a great album. It's the first time they really had like clean vocals. Like not just clean, I mean like high, because Stephen Keach has a higher voice. But they started getting more catchy choruses. But I mentioned earlier that my favorite song back then was Stitches. And I think when I was in college, so this came out 2007, my senior year. And I probably listened to it that whole summer when I graduated. No, yep. Had to. So I was dating my wife, and she went to Eastern, and I went to Central that year. And I remember taking long drives to go visit her, and I would listen to Pressure the Hinges. So maybe that's why I have like weird memories with it, because it's just a super long, boring 2.5, 3-hour drive from Ellensburg to Spokane.
Yeah.
And I've been listening to that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great songs though. Like "Chorus of Angels" is great. "Press the Hinges," the song's awesome. I liked it, and "Stitches" is awesome. Like you listen to "Stitches," and if you don't like feel any emotion towards the end of that song, I don't know if you have a soul. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I wished I could like sing it right now.
It's 5 words, dude. It's just 5 words.
What are the 5 words? Do you know them? People get this tattooed, man.
You're worth more than this.
Good job.
Right? Let's go.
Yeah, so actually, their music video for it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think, if memory serves. I should probably look up the lyrics before I say this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I think it's about, like, cutting yourself. And people, like, not thinking they're worth more than this. And thinking they're worthless. And the stitches are, like, the scars and wounds that they leave on themselves because they hate themselves. And so it's a song of like, you're worth more than this, Yeah. And in the music video, I think it's like a kid who's getting yelled at by his parents, and I think he's cutting himself in the video or something. But I remember watching it on TVU, which was like, I think it's still around.
Yeah.
It's like a Christian music video show on the internet. They have a radio version called Radio U. But I used to listen to that all the time. Like playing World of Warcraft, I have one computer screen, World of Warcraft. The other computer screen would be just music videos all day long. And when Stitches came out, like I probably saw that because I had an issue back then and played tons of World of Warcraft, as I'm sure most of America has.
Not me.
Oh, good job. I probably saw it like 4 or 5 times a day.
Wow.
But yeah, it's a great album. And I think musically, like the guitar work and how every song starts, it's all very unique. This kind of gives me an idea. We should like have a podcast playlist where we put like our favorite songs on, right? And put it on like our podcast description, and people can like see what we're talking about when we say like, dude, Stitches. Such a good song. Check this out. And people will be
that's an awesome idea.
Yeah.
I actually really love that. Yeah.
So if you're listening, check out our description for this awesome playlist. And if it's not there, pretend I didn't say anything.
Now, Pressure Hinges was awesome. The album I listen to least and I sleep on the most is Dreamer. And I know you love Dreamer. You have one of your favorite songs of Haste Today's on there at least, right?
Probably a few.
A few?
Yeah.
I slept on it big time. I don't know. At first when I listened to it, I just didn't get into it. But now I go back and I slept on it, man. It's a great album too.
I think a lot of people didn't give it a try. So around the time Dreamer came out, probably after they were in studio, but before it came out, so it's already recorded and ready to go, they kicked a guy out of the band because he was an atheist. He said, I don't believe in God. And these guys were like, dude, like if you read the lyrics for Dreamer, it's like the first album where they get like very Christian.
Yeah.
Like they talk about God, like flat out, where the other ones are kind of like, you know, have Christian tones, but they don't have like the actual, well, I don't think they ever say Jesus either, but I mean, even non-Christians could look at this and read the lyrics and be like,
sure,
this is a Christian song.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they kicked the guy out, and I remember like Facebook was barely a thing back then, but man, people were mad, and they're like, you know, how can you call yourselves Christians when you're kicking a guy out? And I don't remember the statement that I read from them, but long story short was that they are a Christian band, and their mission was to use this music to reach people and share the gospel. And if someone didn't share that mission, they wanted someone to join the band who shared that mission. And I mean, part of me was like, man, this sucks. Like you're kicking this guy out. And I think he was the like lead guitarist.
We're gonna have to do a little fact checking on there, but
I don't think you need to, because the guy that replaced him was the lead guitarist from Phineas. And so the next album that came out, which was
Attack of the Wolf King,
had him on it. But yeah, and you know, I think it's a tough thing. And I don't think they like kicked him out like you're out. I think they asked him to resign, and he resigned.
So it's more mutual.
Yeah, but people were not happy. And that was kind of around the time where like, you know, if you were a Christian band, then you're too judgmental and self-righteous. And I think Christian metal was kind of going down. I mean, that was 2008. Yep. No. So I remember I was in Cheney, so I was going to Eastern at that time. I transferred schools. But yeah, and you know, I listened to that album a lot when it first came out. And sometimes I feel like I do that. I just binge an album for like 3 weeks, and then I'm done. Probably listen to it in a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely did that with this. And even looking back when we were doing this, and I was like, I should probably go listen to some Haste today. And I went to that album, and there were some songs that I was like, man, this is a great song. Can't believe I stopped listening to this album for a long time.
Yeah. No, it's definitely good. I look back and like you said, like just the Christian tones are awesome, and you can just tell like the difference in writing. Like they're both awesome. Like the Jimmy and the Steven era are different, and they're awesome in their own right. But like the lyrics in Dreamer, Attack of the Wolf King, like those lyrics are awesome.
Yep.
And so I thought that was pretty cool looking back on.
So there's kind of a funny story. So back in the day, sometimes even today, nowadays I just text people, but I don't know why, but I would do this thing where I would just hear a song and I'm like, man, that is such a good chorus or such a good verse. And I would like copy paste it and send it to someone that knew the song. And they'd be like, you know, they'd text me back like the next verse or something. And it's like, oh, they caught me. Like, you know, they know what I'm talking about. Like this song's awesome. And so around the time of MySpace and Facebook, you know, so I just made a post instead of texting, and I posted on Facebook some lyrics for Invoke Reform.
Yeah.
Which at the time,
great song.
No, it's an amazing song.
Oh, love it. Yeah.
I think the song is about the perspective of a non-Christian, or perhaps someone that was a Christian that no longer is. And so the song, I'm just going to pop open the lyrics here on my other screen here, has a chorus, and I wrote the chorus, the whole thing, which is, in secret, I'm dirty, and I've chosen to give up.
Dang, yeah. And
I think, you know, the lyrics are really like, you know what you're doing is wrong. And instead of repenting and being like, man, I shouldn't be doing this, this is bad, you're just like, I'm abandoning my Christianity or my faith or my guilt, and I'm choosing to give up. I don't care. Right? And I think a lot of Christians can feel that. We've all been there. And so anyway, I posted it on Facebook, as a lyric. And I didn't say like dash haste today or anything. Probably an hour later, my dad, like, I don't know if he commented on it or something, but he's just like, hang in there, son. Like, if you need to talk, I'm there for you. And I was like, oh no.
Is that the one I posted? You're worth more than this. I'm kidding.
No, that was like a worth dying for thing.
That's what it was. Yeah,
that band worth dying for. And you're like, Gary, this band is not worth dying for. I'm like, no, they're called. Anyway, yeah, and it was just so embarrassing, and I think I deleted it.
But that just goes to like that lyric, man. Like, you think about it, and as Christians, like, we go out into this world and we look great in a lot of ways. We try to be this, like, you know, this beacon on a hill for people to see, and it's hard to keep that up. And then when we're at home, right, sometimes we don't keep that going, or there you have just those hypocrite Christians, and that's a frustrating thing for people in culture when they see, like, this is what a Christian's supposed to do, and this is the way the Christian's acting, and they don't really go together. But in all reality, that's all of us to some extent. Mm-hmm. And just admitting that can make you maybe realize those things and try to fix them, right? And I think that's where those lyrics are getting at, and that's huge. I mean, that's deep to think about.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's what it's about. And lyrically, that album is amazing. Like, thinking about those type of lyrics that really just kind of influence you. They influence the person you are, right? And when you think of metal, and this is kind of just going back to the beginning, when you think of metal, like, you think of gore and you think of death and you think of the devil, right? And no, these songs are literally breathing life. You know what I mean? If you go to a show and you go to these shows where you have these positive lyrics, these like Christ-centered lyrics, and you see these people just like from the top of their lungs screaming along, like, you know that their soul's like in this. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty cool to see. It's a different vibe. And if you haven't seen it, you can't really get what I'm saying.
It's like, what? Why would these people do that? I do think it's like, to some people, it's a form of worship. I remember being a kid, like at church and stuff, and like, I felt, like I was a Christian. I believed in God. I believed Jesus died on the cross for my sins. But like, the worship music was just so boring. And I was like, man, I don't know if I can be a Christian if this is what it takes. And so to know that there's like another genre of music that has the same type of lyrics and message and stuff, but it's like up my alley. Like, yeah, I can go to a show to this and shove people around and jump up and shout and sing along and,
Yeah. Now, and that's pretty cool. And that's where, like, it felt right for me too, and the passion behind these vocals are just great. And I think as they go from Dreamer to a couple years, and this is the first album that released when we were friends, Attack of the Wolf King.
Yep.
Right.
And I probably met you like right
2009,
maybe a year after Dreamer came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had to be. Yeah. And when Attack the Wolf King came out, it came out when we were buddies, obviously, and we listened to it together, right? And it's a step up. It just keeps getting better. And I listened to, Attack of the Wolf King so many times that year. We played the crap out of it.
Yep. Yeah, it came out. Yeah, like it came out 11 days before my wedding.
Yeah.
So we listened to it a lot.
Oh,
right before my wedding. Yeah.
It gets you right at the beginning, right? Wake Up the Sun comes on, and those guitars.
Dude, Spokane has a rock station, plays a bunch of Five Finger Death Punch and butt rock and whatnot.
Don't let Gary fool you. He likes Five Finger Death Punch. Every time I go to his house.
One time.
No. Every time he's like, hey, this isn't that bad of a song. Hey, have you heard this song? It's all right.
2 songs on every album is good. And it's like how you pick music. 1 song, not an album. Yeah. 1 song. Anyway, the station here, 94.5,
Yeah.
Their intro, like to talk, like whatever they're going to talk about on their thing right before commercials, they had that intro for Attack of the Wolf or Waking Up the Sun. That's the first song, right? Yeah, Wake Up the Sun.
Wake Up the Sun, yeah.
Yeah, that intro. And every time I heard them, that came up and I was like, man, I need to listen. I used to deliver parts for AutoZone. So I was in that truck all day. Well, not all day, driving 20 minutes often. And so picking a radio station, you can only listen to Air One so much. So I moved on to 94.5. And every time I heard that,
it's awesome. I mean, it brings you right in, and it just gets better. Dog Like Vultures is probably my favorite song on the album, I would say, for me.
Sharpening Your Claws.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually read a lot of the lyrics like a few days ago because even though I listened to this a lot, I felt like it was often in the background and I never, gave it a good sit down.
Yes.
But the entire album is anthemic. Like the whole song is lyrics based on this Wolf King and his attack.
Yeah. Chorus is, we've been known to calm the storm and silence the ocean with the strength to spare you from their teeth. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
That's awesome. The way that sung too, that chorus, it's just like
Steven does a great job.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome Haste Today. Like that's just great.
Yep. I love a lot of songs on that album. Travesty is like the lyrics on that. They remind, for those that know our type of music, Wolves at the Gate has a song called Dead Man. That's like, about being, a dead man needing a savior, becoming a Christian, sins erased, basically a guy on death row, whatever. This is like that level of a song. And I'm really upset that it took me this long to find out how Christian, I guess, the lyrics are. And I wished I had them open.
Well, I think the first three words are like, you cover me. Right? I think it is. And like, that's awesome. God covers us, Jesus' blood covers us. And so it's like a psalm. That's what I think of it as.
Yeah. And the next line is, I am spent, and with death you paid my ransom. So like right away, you're like, okay, what's going on?
Was I really right?
Yeah, you're right. You cover me. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that song.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Great.
It's great. So when we saw them, on Haste the Day versus Haste the Day, Jimmy Ryan goes up halfway through. They're all drinking water and trying to, catch their breath. He goes up and talks about this new album that just dropped. So they're like, hey, we just released this new album and we're breaking up. And so they go on this farewell tour, and basically the album just came out. So people are going to the show and they're like, never heard it before. But their farewell tour, they basically played everything. But anyway, Jimmy Ryan went up there and he's like, his favorite song on this new album, Attack of the Wolf King, is White as Snow. And I'm not going to lie, Tyler, I don't like it.
You don't like it?
Nope.
Oh, it's great.
I think lyrically it's great, but I think musically it's just very ambient, very drawn out. I felt like it should have been like so like every album they have like this weird like instrumental, that's like ambient and like weird, and you're like, what is happening? But there's no lyrics. And I felt like that's what this song was.
With lyrics.
But they put lyrics in.
How do you feel about My Name is Darkness?
Love it.
Yeah. That's a great one. It's a great way to end the album, or the regular album, not the deluxe. But the deluxe edition is unreal.
With their live one?
The 3 extra songs you get on the deluxe are Meet Me Halfway, Blue 42 Live, and Pressure the Hinges Live. And Meet Me Halfway, I don't have to tell Gary this, is an amazing song.
Yeah. My wife loved it. Yeah, we've been, let's see. So this album came out 11 days before we got married. And I think it was my job for the wedding to pick all the music. So people that are dancing, the people waiting. And honestly, I did a good job. I did not pick metalcore, poppy, happy songs. People dance to like normal songs, I swear.
Yeah.
But I told Jen, like, I want to play a Haste Today song, like sometime in our wedding. And for whatever reason, I don't know why. Looking back, I'm like, that's so weird. But we chose to walk back down the aisle. So after they say, now introducing Mr. and Mrs. Erickson, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's like, yay, clapping. And we get to walk back.
Yeah.
We played Meet Me Halfway from Haste Today. And it was pretty loud. A lot of people were like happy and cheering and whatever. We walked back and started forming the line, and everyone else started walking back. And I don't even remember hearing the song, but I know that's what we walked back to. And it's not like they scream some.
They do.
They scream a lot, and they sing.
Not the beginning.
But it's a cover of Black Eyed Peas, right? Yeah,
it's a cover of Black Eyed Peas. But this is the same thing as Long Way Down. Like, you listen to Meet Me Halfway from Black Eyed Peas, and for me, like, I get bored. But you listen to Meet Me Halfway from Haste Today, and it's like, this song is killer. And it's the same thing
on Spotify.
That's right. And the same thing is like, as you were saying, like your wife liked it, my wife liked it. And that's probably the only Haste Today song at the time. I've definitely got her like some more now. At the time that she was like, I like this. We can listen to this in the car after Taylor Swift. Right? Like
what Crystal sounds like.
That's just my like any female voice. Like, which is probably wrong because not everyone sounds like they're from California. But like, I don't know. You listen to Meet Me Halfway and it's phenomenal. And just like Long Way Down, it's better than the original. And I don't know how they do it, but just the way they put it together and piece it together is just great.
Yep.
That alone is worth the deluxe edition. But then you go to Blue 42 and it's awesome. Like it's somewhere in Europe. No. Yeah, it's Europe. No, it's not. New Zealand, I think.
Oh, yeah?
I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And he's like, in America, we call this a mosh pit or something. And that was pretty cool.
You heard
but Blue
American football.
That's what it is. The very beginning of the song. This song's about American football. Blue 42. Hut, hike. Right? And that, like, man, I just love that. And I could just, like, feel, like, the crowd there, like, in New Zealand and just going crazy. You thought it was cheesy? Oh, yeah, come on, dude.
But, the song's amazing, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, jumped right in. And then he has the Jesus call out at the end.
Yeah, gosh. That's like what everyone, like, I was in a really crappy band in college, and like we modeled our like Jesus talk like after this. Like, it doesn't matter what you believe. Jesus died for you. Jesus loves you. Like, I totally did that because he was just awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he do that at the show we went to?
Yeah, they did a kind of a thing like that. It was like, I can't really remember the words of it, but basically they just said like the whole reason they're doing this is because they love Jesus and, something like that. I don't know.
That Portland show, the farewell tour, something I will remember for the rest of my life. Like before that, we've been to shows. We went to shows in Spokane, been to shows in Seattle, been to shows here in the Tri-Cities. But like the Portland show at the Hawthorne Theater was awesome. It was a great lineup. Who was there? It was who was it?
I don't know the right order, but it was like The Chariot.
Oh, Gary's favorite.
My Bride.
Oh yeah.
A Plea for Purging. And Haste Today. I'm missing one.
No, I think that was it.
I'm gonna feel bad if I'm missing one. But yeah, it was great.
Awesome.
And at the time, I think I was just getting into My Children and My Bride, and I was like pretty into them. Yeah. And I didn't really know. I knew songs from A Plea for Purging, enough to know the main ones, but like I wasn't into them. until we saw them.
I mean, we went for Haste today. It was the farewell tour, and we're like,
Sure.
I don't know why we chose, because they went to Seattle, I think. Maybe it just worked out the best that we went to Portland. And so we said, we don't care. We're driving 5 hours to Portland, roughly from Spokane.
Oh, because we stopped and picked up my brother.
In the Tri-Cities, though.
No, he's a WSU.
Yeah. No. He left his car at my parents' house. I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, his Jeep.
Yep.
Old blue CJ. Yeah. That's right. So it wasn't out of the way.
It was an awesome experience. Portland just goes crazy. Like, it was a different type of crowd than at Seattle or in Spokane.
Yeah. I've seen crowds kind of like that, but not that many. Like,
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Growing up, I've been to festivals, and my dad took us to Tom Fest when I was in, I don't know, probably 12 or 13. And like, you go to these super heavy shows and you have people that are like chopstick mohawks. Like, they literally have chopsticks in their hair, and they're just like karate kicking and doing cartwheels and windmills and stuff. And it's like, what is going on? Yeah. But now you go to Portland and it's like 100 people doing that.
It was packed.
It was dangerous stuff.
It was packed. And that's where we learned our tip. All right. Gary and Tyler's pro tip for the mosh pit is be on the outside, but don't just have your hands down, because you're going to get socked in the face, right? You got kids that are doing karate kicks, right? They're straight up just throwing their arms and punching people. And so we saw other people do this. You put your fists straight out in front of you, and they hit your fists, or they feel you instead of hitting you in the face.
Yeah, they're always arm's length away. And
yeah.
If everyone, and it's not just on the outside of the pit, you got to be on the back.
Yeah, you got to be in the back. Yeah.
I learned that lesson too.
We knew it was going to be crazy because we saw kids, and I say kids, but they were probably our age at the time, with headbands, like sweatbands, and they were stretching before the show. Like, they were literally stretching, like getting ready. And we knew right away, we were like, this is going to be insane. We've got 100 people with shorts, super short shorts, sweatbands, stretching. Oh, 100 that are in the pit.
Right. Probably 180 in the building.
Or more. I mean, whatever capacity was, it was at that night. But like,
it was a sold out show.
We knew this was going to be different. Right. Yep. And so it was crazy. Portland went hard. And I remember when Haste the Day, I think it was American Love, and they do their chorus, their soft chorus.
Never
right?
gonna let you go.
Yeah. And it's awesome. You know, everyone's singing, but the people in the pit are just like slowly walking, and you can tell they're ready to just start like helicopter punch any person that's near them.
They're all like pacing, like, here we go.
They're just pacing. Yeah. And so we knew it. We're like, this is going to get nuts. And boom, the drop happens, and the whole pit just starts going. Right?
Yeah, I think we lost each other. Like, everyone got all scattered. Like, oh no.
Yeah. That song was awesome live. Yeah.
It was an amazing show.
I remember, I think When Everything Falls was their last song. Like, kind of their, I don't know if they did an encore, but if they did, that was the encore song, you know? And that last part where they get up, this is your last chance to move. I want to see the whole building in a circle pit. Your brother goes in and just starts going crazy. We're all in the circle pit, and that was pretty cool to see too. That was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just sitting here like smiling with good memories.
Oh, it's such a good show. And like, I just remember like how good they sounded live, because I didn't know, you know, how great it was going to be. But man, it was cool. And when they played every song, I think they took a request from the crowd.
Yeah, they did. I don't remember what they were. You know, like, I was like, do you guys want to hear this?
It was Walk On, wasn't it?
And what? I know they played Walk On, but what was the other?
I thought that was the request.
No, he was like, you know, you guys want to hear this song? He's like, I'll give you guys a choice. Do you want to hear this song or this song? And I don't even remember what I yelled because I'm like, both.
Yeah. But he played Walk On. And that's from When Everything Falls.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool. That's a great song. That thing just hits right at the beginning.
That was the best part about their farewell tour. It was like, if you go on Spotify and you look at their playlist, they have this playlist that they made called like the ultimate Haste the Day playlist, whatever.
Yeah.
They played almost every single one of those songs.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it sucked that it was farewell. The other, like, is the last time we were going to see them until 2015 when they got back together. But yeah, and it was also our first time seeing them.
Yes.
So it's like a double whammy. Like, this is the first and last time we got to see Haste the Day live. Like, I remember when after the show, we all of us bought a shirt.
Yep.
I think I bought like their early EP that was never on Solid State. It was like some of their other songs that was like demo versions, pretty much early versions of their songs, and even other songs that you never even heard. It was an amazing show. Tons of fun.
So good. Yeah.
Got stuff signed.
Yep.
I got their poster with, it's like a tombstone that has like their album logo on it, like every album logo. It's just like a flame.
Yeah.
And got them all to sign it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that was so fun. And that was like the culmination, I felt like, of our Haste the Day, like, fanboyism, maybe. We were just two kids having fun, man. And that was awesome. It was like, and this happens a few times with bands, and we're going to talk about this, but you just feel like they're talking to you, And I just felt like when Haste the Day was playing, it was like, man, this is for me right now. And it was awesome. It was a great feeling. It's hard to explain.
Yeah. It was a fun ride home too. I mean, we all drove there like 6 hours, sat in the show for 4 hours.
And we're spent at the end because it's hot in there. We're moving, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Then 6 hour drive back, and we stayed awake. I remember we stopped at a gas station about like caffeine pills and stuff. We passed my Zune, my 250 gigabyte Zune around.
Your Zune, wow! Now you're dating yourself, dude. Well, I guess we're talking about Haste the Day farewell tour, so we know the date. The Zune, the brick.
Yeah, we just passed around, and like when a song ended, the next person got to pick a song.
Yeah,
and then for a while we listened to that EP that I bought. Yeah, it was a fun drive. And I remember I had to go to work the next morning. We pulled in at I think 5 a.m. The sun was coming up, and I called my boss, and my voice was gone, and I was so tired. And I called him I'm sick. I can't make it today. And he's like, you sound terrible. Get some rest. And I'm like, you got it. Lay down, out.
Yeah, I remember the drive home, and when we were getting closer to Spokane, right? We're probably I don't know, Ritzville, which is an hour away. We were tired.
Oh yeah.
Right. It felt.
Oh yeah.
Robert and your brother, and then us two. Yeah. But that was such a great night. It's a night. It's one of those nights that you look back and you say, I'm so glad we did it. It didn't make much sense, right? We're going to drive this far to see this band, but we knew we had to because it was going to be the last shot we had.
Yep.
And this was the band that brought us together. Yep. We had to do it.
Yeah. I'm really glad we got to talk about it too. Now it's recorded, and we can always go back and relive this if we ever get Alzheimer's and we're Haste the Day. What?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when I look back for me at the bands that really shaped me in my college years, Haste the Day's there, right? And it might even be their older stuff that I played, but man, we played so much Haste the Day, and it's pretty fitting that this was our first podcast.
Thank you for listening.